Hello, everyone. That was a very kind introduction. I brought Austin because he is one of the smartest people I've ever worked with, and he's actually the mastermind behind most of this. So, felt fitting for him to come and help give the background behind all of it. And he's still running it at Sendoso, and I have departed. Um, Happy to be here. I'm in Oakland. I have two dogs that are very obnoxious and have been locked out of this room so that I can pretend to be professional. And I appreciate you, Francois. This is a cool community. I'm excited to be more of a part of.
Awesome. Super excited to chat with you all. I've known some of you on the line. Excited to meet you. I'm Austin Sandmeyer, Director of Growth and GTM Strategy at Sendoso. I have a picture of Fargo because that's where I was pretty much born and raised. So many of you don't know where that is, middle of North Dakota or in the middle of nowhere. But that's where I call home previously, now call Salt Lake City home. We have a bunch of slides. I'm going to run really, really fast, I think. So I'm not going to talk about Sendoso. You probably have seen us or know, or you can look at sendoso.com. We're smart. Um, Typical motion is everybody needs to increase and go faster and build more pipeline, and typically with less headcount. And usually the CEO is saying, less headcount, more pipeline, and no more budget. Figure out with AI.
I'll also add here really quick. I joined for full turnaround in 2 years of a company that was struggling very, very hard and was like walking a tight line. And we had flat budget, flat team. Our team actually downsized to 3 when we were first starting. So that's where we started this from.
Oh, could you raise your hand if you know what Sendoso is?
I wish I could see your guys' faces.
People.
Sendoso is a
gifting platform.
A smart corporate gifting platform that personalizes gifts and integrates with a bunch of different tools in your stack to automate it.
Yeah. Feel free to LinkedIn DM me if you want to know more. If like, wow, that was cool. Didn't want to take up time, but what we've seen, like I've seen, so we've been using AI in outbound motion and marketing elements for about 2.5, 3 years now. We were one of Clay's first customers. We've been customers of many different AI tools in the past. And what I've talked with a lot of people during this time is resulting in spraying and praying and burning their total addressable market while also making your team feel horrible and very much like this cat. And so different approach tried to inverse BDR motions and a few other of our marketing motions. We'll talk a lot about our BDR and kind of our ABM motions today, but figuring out how to use AI in a motion that matters and not doing this to your total addressable market or your team was kind of our crux, even though our team was small at the time.
Austin and Kit, would you mind giving us a reminder in the context of
I found delightful. So we were targeting marketing leaders, CMOs, in addition, SDR leaders and SDR teams with the team and the SDR and sales teams with gifting. If you have experience with this, marked up. And deal size when I was very, it slid down a hill all the way to the bottom, really ineffectively with top competitors in our space. And when I was get the ACV back up to enterprise mid-market levels and increase win rates, which had nosedived. And we had a plan to basically dominate the space and acquire our top 2 competitors over the next 2 years, which we did. We did all of these things. So that's a quick overview.
Thanks for the context. Perfect.
Awesome. So when we think about our BDRs, we kind of started with in 2023, we had 10 BDRs, and they were, the typical BDR day, as most of you all know, and they were really producing very little pipeline for the most part. Typically less than 15%. Honestly, sometimes it was single-digit percentages per quarter. So really not a lot given our entire marketing, pipeline generation.
This was pre us being involved.
Pre us. Yep. And then we kind of inverse and flip that to what we have today. I thought the top thing would stay as well, but I don't know how animations work on these slides. But we have 1 to 3 BDRs. And so we have, a significant, so we went from 10 BDRs to, 3 BDRs at the most part right now. And they're producing 25 to 45% of the pipeline. And most of it is lifted by AI generation, AI helping them with a lot of what we talked about, which is going to be
BDR
like,
team, we moved under marketing wing as well, so we could control
Yeah.
this and help.
Yep. Which is a lot of the research, the signal motions, and the email content generation. Oh, there it is. There you go. So prioritizing, drafting, engaging, a lot of it is now the main focus of what they do. So how do we use AI for real pipeline impacts? Different, like what is signal we're going to use, time, and humanizing, and using gifting and touches. So these are like the 3 medicines. People like to know what's in our tech stack to help us do this. This is typically what we look at in our tech stack. So I won't run through every one. Feel free to grab a screenshot or say, I want to learn more about this, and you can DM me or ask a question about it. But this is kind of our bread and butter for most of our AI tech stack. We have kind of a long trail. We have quite a bit of other things in testing, but this is core stuff. I'll pass it over to Kacie.
I do this, and one of the things that we discovered was that we had started on a credit basis. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, the sales versus marketing, inbound versus outbound. It was not making any sense, in our attribution and sales stages and everything were all messed up. So we fixed that. One of the things we wanted to figure out was how to basically eliminate what I refer to as cold outbound. So all of our outbound was warm, and all of it was ecosystem marketing all working together. And to do that, we needed to figure out how to build ourselves an AI command center that could do a lot of the research, deep research, and logistical repetitive work that was occupying a lot of our team's time and making them sad inside. And we're not going to go into this right now, but Austin actually built all of this with Clay by himself previously, and it was an extensive undertaking. So we were looking for ways to make this easier on ourselves and automate it with tools that, we actually paid more for UserGems, which we can go to the next slide. And I made that money back in a month on it because we did an early POC and saw that it was going to actually just streamline all of this for us and improve our data and improve the quality of our targeting, and give us time back. So we plugged UserGems in pretty quickly, and Austin, you can talk about what we fed it, but we fed it all of the stuff at the top, trying to train their GemE, which is an AI SDR. We tested all of them. This was the only one we trusted to automate with and take our hands almost all the way off the wheel. So we'll go into how this fits into our ecosystem, but this is where we're focusing for now. And there are a whole bunch of other components that y'all should probably talk to Austin about later because he's brilliant.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff on the top, ICP, persona, CRM insights. So a lot of our stuff in our CRM is what pulls a lot of the information that is super valuable and super important. And that's kind of what GemE, we were pulling it into Clay. It's become super hard and super complex. I'm sure we can chat with GTM engineers about like what that can look like. And, how do we identify that Mark is on an opportunity and Victor just joined that company, but Casey's going to, just got let go at that company. And now she's going to go over here and be at that company. That type of stuff, like GemE can help understand where a BDR that's going to take like an hour of reading Salesforce if they're going to do it to get to a good email, to get the right copy and the right prompt. So we fed a lot of data into UserGems and GemE to help get us to the place where you'll see a few emails here.
And it literally plugs right into the CRM, like you have someone doing research in the background, which we hadn't found another option that did this.
Yeah, I tested like 12 plus AI BDRs. So if you throw them in the chat, I probably have tested or played with them. And none of them got to the point where we are seeing the quality of the messaging that actually resonated. And then also got them like responses back, which I'll show some response back from emails and prospects. And it was pretty awesome. So I'm happy to also give you opinions on them at another time in a LinkedIn somewhere, because I have lots of opinions. But these are some of the plays that we run: past champions, close loss revival, ABM motions, SDR AE prospecting against ICP accounts and warm signals, whether that's website whether that's event attendance, whether that is webinar attendance, something like that. We also do customer expansion using Jemmy, so watching customer accounts and feeding in data around usage, adoption, those types of metrics of like how often are they meeting with our AMs, how much are they meeting with CSMs, when do we want to trigger and upsell them, when do we see that they've hired new departments, things like that.
This was a huge win for us because we actually were so successful with a new business that our CX team started getting very excited about UserGems and our whole automated workflows when they had previously been very opposed to automation. So win for Austin.
So opposed to automation that they didn't want me sending any emails under their names previously.
Yeah.
Like it was a very, I hate, no, let's never do something like that.
Actually, Austin, do you mind?
Yeah.
First of all, are these campaign types that you mentioned there, what are the one or two that had the best impact?
Oh, I mean, like
Are
for
they
us,
equally
yeah.
contributing?
I think there's a significant level of equal motion, but I think past champions for us is one of our biggest success rates across the board. Everywhere I will go and talk and preach about it, people move to other companies and they want to bring what they use at the other companies. As long as you were producing for them there, they'll produce there. That was one of our best ones by far, and it still is today, and it's always been, for the past,
We
even
also,
before. Oh, go for
sorry,
it.
Austin. I thought you
Yeah.
were pausing. Go ahead.
Even before we brought in UserGems, we were using another tool for past champions, and we've used past champions at prior companies. It's one of the best in my opinion. Go for it, Kacie.
I was just gonna say, I think a lot of companies and us included struggle with closed loss automation. So like revive, wake the dead campaigns. It's just happening when you think about it. Like a lot of companies haven't automated on a regular cadence and it's broken. So we were looking for a way to do that. And that's actually for us because our sales team was throwing out a lot of stuff that just hadn't been multi-threaded properly, or we hadn't made the value case properly. They were cutting loose a lot of fish. That was hugely lucrative for us as well.
Oh, great. And Austin, are you going to tell us about how you put the SDRs in the loop or not? So you said you went from 10 SDRs to one or three,
Yeah.
and then they were nervous, rightly so. Their jobs, also control, etc. If you had a test period, a transition period, or how you convinced them, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I don't think if it's positive or negative, but we also did this during a time of a RIF. So during the time of the RIF, we reduced the team as a whole across the board and decided that we were going to focus on more AI motion as much as possible. And so we had a RIF across the entire org, and obviously BDR function was also affected, but we kept a couple high performers that we knew would be able to work and play well with us as we tested new ideas and new concepts. And so that was the big part of it. And then as we brought on new BDRs, as we bring them in, because I think Kacie might have a slide, but a lot of the BDRs that we had actually got promoted and moved into AE positions and other things very fast, quicker than I normally would personally like, but that's great. So when we were hiring for those, we really focused on what type of hire we want versus like an amazing emailer or an amazing cold caller that's going to build human connections. We obviously
started net new. They had actually, Sendoso had decided that outbound didn't work with the 10 previous BDRs. So we pulled that under marketing. We did an outbound revival. We hired all SDRs who actually were entrepreneurs previously and had no SDR experience. They were phenomenal. And we started with, we're going to teach you how to use AI to do your job better. This is kind of the hook that we use to bring them in. And then Austin set up a whole bunch of, we have automated Slack channels and automation inside of the platforms they're using that really help them and systems inside of the Slack channels that help them to track as a team their wins and what's coming in and what's being responded to. And when we get really positive results and responses versus when we get less positive responses. So there's there was a ton of work done to make them feel part of this and to give them ownership in it. And then we had a really phenomenal BDR leader, Katie Penner, who championed it as well and got in here and got her hands dirty and helped build it. So she was championing it with her team.
I'll also say that like I am right now coaching another marketer that is working on converting 100 BDRs into this type of motion from a previous like I personalize every email type motion that they have into this kind of motion. And I think like one of the elements that I have been leaning on with them and I would recommend anybody kind of lean on is like what makes a good seller? Does sending an incredible email make a good seller and is going to be an amazing AE and an amazing potential director of marketing, director of sales? Maybe not, but like what actually makes an amazing seller is human connection and having conversations and building the committee and actually like getting to know that person on a personal level. And that's as good as it can be. It can be done sometimes done through email, but it's often done through phone calls and often done through meetings. And that's like likely why we wanted to push our BDRs in that direction to improve them on those elements because that's what they're going to need when they come and go and become AEs. So
The other thing
like
we did here was rethink comp.
yeah.
So because there's double touches, basically, we don't have inbound versus outbound anymore. We combined it all into pipeline. We look at and track where it's coming from, and we look at where UserGems, has influenced or brought in pipeline, but we're not punishing our BDRs because AI helped them to book a meeting. We're rewarding them because we want to incentivize that behavior. And that was a conversation that I had to have with our CFO because he thought we should pay them less for AI assisted wins. And that actually makes no sense if you're trying to build an AI enabled organization.
Yeah, I told you Kacie was an original thinker. All right, thank you. Let's you keep going with the slide.
Yeah, I'm going to jump to some example emails here. And so here is an example email that Jemmy is producing for us. It talks about congratulations. I think the general sentiment of always is like user champion moving to a new place is congratulations. That's a given. But where like Jemmy really shines, obviously, is identifying this, but then also multi-threading it in that Anthony was a past user. So Josh is joining a company. Anthony is a past user, is currently at that company, and he worked with us at another place. Thought you guys would connect well. Like just the sheer fact that Jemmy is able to identify that Mark is at a company and Victor now is also at that company. That would take a BDR, a half hour to kind of figure out like who at this company was a previous on a closed loss opportunity or was a super user at another company but is now at that company. So like we're significantly reducing time of them trying to do that. But here's an example, and then we also obviously include personalization gifting. So there's a gift link about personalization. So we use Smart Send, which is a part of Sendoso, to identify like what gift might resonate most. Here it looks like we're looking for a hands-free running leash for their dog Butch. So this is all combined inside of UserGems Jammy like platform and their like email motion. So this is obviously the signal is new hire. Timing is when they join. We typically give them a little time. There's always best practices around how long you want to give someone to live in their new role, and then multi-threading with like Anthony, and then humanizing with the gifting. I think I have one more like email example, and this is showcasing identifying their company, identifying any of their competitors, and any case studies or quotes of you have that competitor. So this is feeding Jemmy all of the information around you like your content, any quotes, case studies, stuff like that. I see Victor's question around deliverability and inbox rotation workflows. So for me, we're pretty robust on deliverability. We use Smart Send and we use Smart Lead and Instantly, and we have a pretty robust, roughly 100 some domains, and then many, many emails on top of that that are always in rotation with warmups. And so we kind of have a pretty robust email setup delivery motion there. You can run this through the way that we do, which is like Smart Lead and Instantly. You could also run it through like a Gong or like in those types of tools. But to get a strong deliverability inbox rotation motion, we use a different tool. We do outreach during LinkedIn.
I think that's on another slide, maybe the next one. I don't know.
These are fun responses. Obviously, like, wow, Adrian, you did your research. Adrian didn't even know that the email went out. Marissa is amazing. You really appreciated the research you did. She didn't even know that like she was emailing that person, but she got the response back that was super positive and wanted to book a meeting. So these are like the responses that we got with Jemmy. I think
we saw a 20% increase in response rates too. So you can actually test off like your BDRs doing this manually versus doing something like this. This works better.
Yeah. So this is a typical like sales engagement motion where we incorporate Jemmy emails and LinkedIn sales touches and calls and obviously Sendoso gifting. So this is what a typical flow looks like. On the bottom, you can kind of see some of the alerts that we see. So website visitors identified, that goes in, throws into a channel for them to be identified if they're in a current Jemmy sequence. And then any, that's more of the other Slack alerts, more about they've already booked time. Here's what's coming. Talk about this next motion. But we do incorporate LinkedIn touches. We play with LinkedIn touches from an automation. We also do it manually. I have yet to find a perfect motion and a perfect perfect LinkedIn approved way to do everything. But we do have I play with an automation motion. I also play with them manually doing them given, their
The
bandwidth.
company we used for LinkedIn automation just got slapped. So
Yeah.
I will note that is a precarious thing to play with. The way that we think about LinkedIn integrating into this process is that we actually layer in exec sponsorship on LinkedIn. So I was doing a lot of manual outreach myself. We automated at first, and then we were like, "Oop, this," because it's very difficult to keep up with. But I do a lot of work with LinkedIn myself, and they were like, "We're cracking down on everyone, even the smallest." So stop doing that. So I actually connect with, we have trigger alerts for all sorts of different demo requests, folks who have responded and get dumped into the enterprise pool. That's where I was manually going in and connecting with those folks on LinkedIn, like saying, "Hey, I'm so excited that you're interested in Sendoso. If there's anything that you want to talk about, talk shop, whatever, let me know." I was running 6 figures of pipeline direct, like meeting bookings through my DMs alone every quarter, just doing that as a part of this. So it's really hard to pry apart the credit for what deserves the most credit for these types of ecosystem plays with an account. But then we had our SDRs come in on the back. So I had a warm relationship. The SDR, I would either intro or they would come in and say, "Hey, I know you met Kacie." Those things all work together.
All done.
And we
We
see
have 4 minutes.
DMs work better in some scenarios than emails. For enterprise specifically, it works better, I think.
Yeah. There's a couple questions in the chat, trying to address them in the chat. So these are some of the response rates that we have different when it comes to unsubscribe. And one of the questions was on unsubscribe, do not respond when they switch from ADR to kind of an AR powered motion. We didn't see a massive increase in unsubscribe rates or block rates or spam rates. I kind of alluded into my chat response back. We have Slack alerts set for all negative responses, any bounce alerts or any spam filters against those email accounts. And so we're always monitoring all health inboxes pretty proactively, in my opinion, as proactive as you can get it. And so we're kind of keeping an eye on that. I would say we have a higher unsubscribe rate from our core marketing emails and more Marketo kind of motions than we do from these AI powered motions for sure. This is kind of, I talked a little bit about the review process of reviewing an evergreen play for first couple of weeks to ensure that it's going well. These are kind of the different breakdowns of those types of campaigns and the timing of them. So we always, for new campaigns we launch, we typically go through a 2-week evergreen watching play of them. So we look at emails that are coming in. We have access to edit and tweak any emails that are coming in and reviewing them. So I'm always taking a peek at that. These are in the deck. You can see it. Take a peek at it later. Kacie, I think these are your slides.
We don't need to hover here. Our BDR team consistently overachieves. We promoted one of them to an AE in record time, and the other one is now leading the BDR team since our BDR leader moved on. So that's what we want to see when we see AI supporting human potential. It was really exciting. And we were able to actually start expanding the team as well. This is just a quick reference, so you can see that is one piece of a lot of different touch points inside of an ecosystem play for an account journey. And where you see gifting is where this is a big enterprise deal for us, is where some of this comes into play. And we want to time all those things to work together. We use Dream Data for that multi-touch account journey, and Dream Data also does dynamic audience building for us so that we can tie our audiences that Jemmy is working with back to our LinkedIn and Google retargeting. I think UserGems is actually building that capability inside of UserGems as well. This I don't know that we have time for, but I did want to give a couple of fun examples of what does good gifting look like. Sendoso can scrape everything about a person that they put online, and we've trained SmartSend to figure out what would be the best gift for them personally, so you can one-to-many personalized gifts. Our team has really found there's better results when we're combining hybrid touch points. So the gift combines something in the real world where you're getting it on your doorstep with the digital experience, the email, the ad, whatever. And there are some fun examples of this, like digital or real magazine with the person on them. AI can do this for you fairly easily at this point. This was a completely AI written magazine. And yeah, and then I wanted to end with, yes, we drove over $1 million of pipeline a quarter and counting as we raised the goalposts with this from scratch to $1 million of pipeline within probably, I would say, not a full year, Austin, right?
No, yeah, 68
And
months.
68 months probably. And so our marketing team was gold on sales qualified pipeline. I switched the goalpost for us when I started. It was a lead gen shop previously. But we also look at all of those things. We look at account progression. We look at account engagement. We look at all of the different facets that would tell us this is working beyond like just the end zone of the meeting was booked and the meeting was qualified. I think that's really important for ABM.
I know we are over in time. These are failures. I can leave them here. You can see them. They'll be in the slat after, but like I have tons of other failures. You can say, what is your most big failures on LinkedIn? And I'll gladly respond.
We
That's all.
definitely had a few like instances where we brought a new BDR in and they didn't quite understand domain health, and we realized we needed to train more so they understood what was happening, so they understood how not to break it.